Welcome, Sojourners, to the Women's Leadership Mindset series presented by Teresa K. Page, LLC. My name is Teresa Page. I am your host and looking forward to spending these next few moments with all of you. We have a lot of work to get done on today, but first, allow me to invite you to connect with me by subscribing to my website and YouTube channel. Connect and follow me on LinkedIn, and always feel free to contact me directly via email at teresakpagellc@outlook.com. So what is our goal? Well, as an author, speaker, coach, and mentor, my mission is to help professional women renew their leadership mindset with fresh fire and purpose through the mediums of leadership development and coaching services. However, the Women's Leadership Mindset series is a new initiative intended to spotlight powerful women leaders and how they serve the world through their professions and purpose. So with the goal to help women realize their unfulfilled dreams and re-energize the leaders they always were, this platform is designed to enhance, empower, educate, equalize, and even emancipate, as our special guests share their entrepreneurial stories, provide valuable resources, and guidance in a caring, professional, and impactful manner. So, let's get down to business. Well, all right. In today's video, it is my pleasure to welcome to my virtual stage Ken Freire, CEO of Solo Scale of Spring Hill, Tennessee. Ken Freire has spent the last 15 years helping organizations and entrepreneurs scale without burnout. As Director of Certification for Full Focus, he helped grow a coaching network from 200 to over 500 coaches, guiding them to expand their businesses while getting more of their life back. Before that, he was the Chief Operation Officer of a coaching company that helped entrepreneurs launch and grow their online coaching business. Whether it's scaling a university or summer camps, Ken always focused on sustainable growth. These days, he helps six-figure entrepreneurs scale without sacrificing the things they love. So to connect with Ken, you may reach him on his website at soloscale.com, as well as via email at ken@soloscale.com. You may also connect with him on social media at LinkedIn at Ken Freire, as well as to check out his podcast, his new podcast, Solo Scale, that is found on all the major podcast channels such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. This new podcast is for solopreneurs looking to grow a seven-figure business without building a big team, utilizing AI, smart systems, and lean strategy. So we'll bring all of this information along with Ken's free gift before we go. But first, I want to say welcome, Ken. How are you?
Teresa, thank you so much for having me on your show. It's truly a pleasure. And thank you for all the kind words. And I'm like, wow, that's awesome that I've done all those things. And truly, hopefully I could inspire the people on your show today.
Absolutely. I'm just really stoked about our conversation. I know that we just recently connected on LinkedIn, and we also had a wonderful one-on-one. And I love the way that you connected with me on LinkedIn, because you were sharing with me that you were just starting out on your podcast and you wanted to know what were some of the stubborn hurdles in any of the areas such as AI or other simple systems, so that would help with marketing, sales, fulfillment, as well as operations. And so I was able to respond, and that was the way we were able to kick off for that one-on-one. So I'm really excited about our conversation today, so you can really give us some insight about AI, to talk about your business and your podcast and so much more. So we're going to go ahead and get down to business on today. So why don't you start off and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing is I didn't realize that I was really good at scaling stuff till a few years ago, where, my whole life I was always just like, let me jump into a role, let me be as excellent as I could be in that role and just help and be faithful and serve. And lo and behold, I just had a natural knack for scaling things and doing it quickly, efficiently, and effectively. But I honestly thought that just most people knew how to do that. I like, genuinely, I was like, "What are you talking about?" I remember talking to a friend of mine, and he's like, "Dude, you're really good at scaling stuff." And I'm like, "Really? I thought this was normal for people." Um, and just I realized again a few years ago that I just had that ability, and I started to refine it and kind of like walk into that gifting. And that's why over the last few years, I just noticed when I started to look at every job position I had, that's what I did. I was scaling stuff. And for me, what ended up happening is in 2021 or 2020, 2021, right around there, I got really sick. I mean, I like had adrenal fatigue, like just burnt out completely because obviously COVID kind of hit, but I was having three kids at the time, trying to do so much stuff there, serve at my church. It was just a ton. And I realized I could not keep scaling things, whatever I was doing, the way I normally did it. I had to find a new way and I had to get my health in order. I had to take care of myself. And once I started doing that, I started asking this big question of like, how do I scale things in a sustainable way that it doesn't sacrifice myself? I was always watching out for everybody else so that they weren't burning out, but I was hurting myself at the end of the day. So I was like, well, how do I make sure that both people win? Both, my clients, my employees, whoever it was, and myself in such a way that I was like, man, I could really thrive. So I've been on this journey now for 4 or 5 years of like, how do I help people scale well? And that's where I had the opportunity of working at Full Focus with Michael Hyatt. And he was an amazing blessing. If people are looking for goal achievement, productivity stuff, I would always point them to Full Focus because they really do have some amazing products and content there. And that's what I had gotten certified in. So it was a blessing to see that people were actually truly able to grow a business without burning out. And like they were able to do it working 20, 30 hours a week without having to sacrifice the things they love. So that's where it kind of I started to ask myself, can this is really possible? Is there another way to do it for solopreneurs? Because like you said in the beginning, I was working with a lot of coaches and I started to ask myself, like, I could see that I can work with them really well if I was doing it, but if I wasn't doing it, they weren't getting the results. So I took a step back. I started talking to my friend Dan Sanchez, who's my business partner for Scaled, and I was like, "Hey, man, is there a way to build a system for a lot of these solopreneurs so that they could actually grow?" And him and I have been going back and forth trying to figure those things out. And we realized that like we've both been doing this for companies in different ways, and we kind of combined forces and said, if there's a way to help bring clear systems and AI now, because that's a huge thing that's going to change a lot of the way businesses operate. I think so many solopreneurs have an amazing opportunity today to actually leverage all these tools if they take a little bit of risk. Not a ton, but like just say, hey, the risk of learning something new that might feel a little scary, their business could truly thrive and they could actually get the impact, the profits, and the freedom that they've been longing for a long time.
Well, that's awesome, Ken. Thank you so much for giving us some insight about you. And I trust that you're feeling much stronger now since 2021.
Oh,
You
very much, yeah.
absolutely look strong and wonderful. Um, so thank you so much for giving us an insight a little and telling us a little bit about yourself. There was a couple of things that you mentioned there that I really want us to lean into. So I hope you don't mind hopping down a bunny trail or two with me.
Do it. I love it. Let's keep it
So,
conversational.
absolutely. So one of the things is that first of all, I want us to establish I guess establish our atmosphere. For those who are listening and who may have heard the word but they don't understand it, can you go ahead and just lay out a clear definition for us in your own words as far as what is scaling when it comes to scaling a business, just so that our audience knows exactly what we're talking about as we go.
Yeah, great question. So when I talk about scaling a business, I'm talking about that we're growing the business in a couple areas. Number one, it's ultimately profit, right? Where you're growing profit. The second one is depending on the services, but that you're getting clients, right? And clients correlates with the profit. Without clients or your service or product, you're not going to grow. Um, but the other part of that scaling is that you want to grow your profits in such a way that you're minimizing operational expenses. So that's where most people like they can start generating a lot of revenue, right, for a business. But when they generate a lot of revenue, they end up having a lot of operational expenses too. So their profits are still, when it comes to percentage wise, it's almost the same. And it's like, man, how do we help flip that so that profits is truly the number one thing? So when we talk about scaling, number one is profits, but then the second thing comes down to operations. What do the operations and the systems that you're building, right, allow for you to scale exponentially so you're not stuck where you're at? Because every system that you build, there's a level that you could hit. There's a cap that you could hit. I'll give you a great example. For example, if you're like doing marketing and we're talking about scaling your marketing, a lot of solopreneurs they do it by word of mouth or referrals. Well, referrals only get you so far, right? Because you're not if you're not meeting new people, and if you are, it's like I could only meet a certain amount of people because I have only a certain amount of time throughout the week. So you hit this wall of like maybe I meet 20 new people a week, and that's like your referral engine and your system. Well, you got to figure out how to open that up. So now scaling would say, well, what if you could meet 20 people in 1 hour instead of one person for 1 hour for 20 hours a week? So that's the way we like to think about it. Is like, how can you get in front of more people, more eyes to grow? And that's just from the marketing side. Same thing with sales, right? Instead of doing selling one-on-one, how can you do sales to one-to-many, right? Operations, instead of fulfilling the product one-to-one, how can you do one-to-many? At the same time, for me, when I think about scaling, I want to make sure it's scaling for something that suits that person's needs and wants. Because some people don't want to do one to many, they love the one to one, right? So scaling is a little subjective for the individual. And that's what's really important for them to think about is like, what do you want to scale and why do you want to scale is really important when I'm having conversations with people.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So thank you for laying that groundwork for us, so that we know exactly what we're talking about along the way. And I love the way that you indicated that scaling really does lean into that solopreneur, entrepreneur's needs and wants. And so I think that's really awesome. There was something that you mentioned a little earlier that scaling was a natural thing for you, and that you thought everyone was able to do it. And I know that entrepreneurs struggle in that, and I will tell you that I'm still growing as well in all transparency in that space. But as we continue to talk, just from a personal point of view, why is it so important for entrepreneurs to understand what their natural giftings are and being able to lean into that to help them to build a successful business?
Oh, yeah. I think one of the hardest things about becoming a solopreneur is that for many individuals, right, if they were working in a corporate business, they might have been in executive leadership like I was, or C-suite like I was, and what could end up happening is you're like, I got this. I look at what I've done for a company. I'm awesome. I'm great. I have all these skill sets. But then when you leave and you start your own thing, right? All of a sudden now you're the marketer, you're the salesperson, you're the operations, you're the finance, you're the admin, you're the HR, you're like everything falls on you. And that's where people get really stuck, overwhelmed, and burnt out. So what I've had to learn is like, what are my strengths? What am I skilled at and capable of? And then from there, I just got to learn to delegate everything out and, either hire some VAs or hire some people out. Great example with solo scaled is like, man, I had this thing on my heart to do for a long time. And I was like, I know my strengths is that I really like working with people and I don't want to do this by myself. And I need someone who has like the legit marketing chops. Like I'm above average, I would say, in marketing, but I'm not like an awesome expert. Well, then when my friend Dan Sanchez and him and I were brainstorming, if you look at all of my success from a sales and operations side, the person who was doing all the marketing was Dan Sanchez. So I was like, Dan, if you and I can get together and we do this, I think we could truly help people win because we've done it time and time again for the last 15 years. Let's start doing it for solopreneurs. So that's the strengths, right? Like I leveraged my strength of networking, of like learning how to scale things, of just like, I know what I'm good at and I'm not. And you got to be okay with that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And the way that you mentioned that about understanding your strengths and also being able to hire out for those things that may be your area of opportunities, or even more so, being able to partner with someone in the areas that you might be pretty good at, but you're not necessarily, but you need that someone that really got that special sauce that is their
Yeah.
strengths. And I'm really starting to see that um, there is, I'm starting to see a little bit more that I'm seeing entrepreneurs that have their own business start to link up and create these collaborative businesses where they're bringing all of their individual strengths to be able to create a particular good or service for either B2B business or either business to business or either business to consumer type organizations. Why do you think that's so important for us as entrepreneurs who may be independent in nature, but still in an effort to, as you mentioned, to scale? Why it's so important to leave open the opportunities to be able to partner with a fellow entrepreneur that may be where you all are in maybe like-minded or uh, you may both have a particular type of expertise to create something brand new. Why is that so important for us now, especially in the 21st century?
Yeah, there's a saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go farther, go together, right? And I probably butchered it a little bit, but it's that same concept. Like, yeah, I could go fast. I could just make decisions and I could do it, but you're going to get stuck, right? I'll give you, there's a lot of solopreneurs who they have a really great product, but they're not good at marketing and sales, right? And they're afraid to invest in that and find either a good agency or a good partner to do that with, because then they're like, I don't have the money coming in. Yeah, but because you're not good at it, it's going to take you 6 months to a year to actually even get decent at it, and you're still not bringing in the money you want. So that's where it's like it's better to invest up front with someone that you can trust, that you can believe in, that could work with you to get you to the place that you really want to get to. And that's what I have found is in my life, when I could find people that I can really work with, I've gotten so much farther. And this is I'm talking about marketing, but like think about your leadership. Your leadership grows when you partner with someone who's better than you at leadership, right? When it's same thing with coaching or services, product fulfillment, whatever it is, the more you lean into other people, right? The more you're going to get to the place where you want to get to faster and further. And that's what I love about partnering with people or working with people or collaborating. It's the ability to say, hey, let's do something together. I also, just to speak to this, I do have like an abundant mindset when it comes to this, where sometimes people feel like, well, if I work with this person, I'm not gonna I'm gonna lose clients because we're all doing similar things. And it's like, listen, there's so many people out there in the world who need our help. And if you guys collaborate, you both might get a piece of the pie. But if you don't collaborate, you're not going to get any piece of the pie. So, like, why are you complaining about it? You're not getting a piece right now. Might as well work with someone and get something out of it. So I do think collaborations and partnerships is a two-way street, right? Where it's like, hey, you don't want to just get from them, you want to be able to give. So that's an important piece too.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. I love that having that abundant mindset to be able to partner. You know, there's one more thing that I wanted to on this bunny trail that we're on before we get into the business part of our conversation. So you mentioned in 2021 that you had fallen ill, and as you were getting better, you were looking for a new way to be able to scale so that it didn't sacrifice yourself. Can you tell us why it's important for us, especially as entrepreneurs, uh, the having that agility to create something new, not only to better yourself, but to be able to better others? Because I love the way that you were able to build a new system and a clear system where it didn't just benefit you and all of the things that you love to do, but it then ultimately is benefiting others now in your new organization. Can you tell us why it's important for us to be agile and to look for other ways that will support not only us, but those that we also serve?
Yeah. Um, what I have found interesting is that sometimes we hold on to things too tightly as solopreneurs because it's like our baby, right? You're like, you have this idea, you're crafting it, you've been thinking about it for months, if not years, and you're like, this is what I want to bring into the world. Well, also to make a profit, you need that thing to be something other people want. So the agility piece is like doing market research. And it's like, is this what they want? Or do I need to ask more questions? What's the actual need? What's the pain point that people are really longing for? Right. And sometimes it might not be the actual product. It just might be the way you're communicating the product. Right. So we have found that many times that it's like, no, people want the stuff that we want. We just need to communicate it a little bit differently. So agility is super important. If you get stuck saying this is the only way I'm going to do it, then man, it's going to be a longer road. Now, I will add one little caveat to that. There's going to be times in your entrepreneurial journey that you have to stick through it, right? Like you have to just keep pressing through, keep going, right? Because you're like building an audience or whatever you're doing. It takes time. What I'm specifically talking about is I know a lot of entrepreneurs who will pivot their offer or their thing so much that it's completely different. Like they'll go from being like a health coach to all of a sudden a business coach. And then from a business coach to like, now they're like, oh, I'm a yoga instructor. And everybody's like, whoa, hold on. Like it, they like ping pong people and they don't know what you're actually doing. Very different if I went from like business coaching to say, actually, I'm just going to do marketing or I'm going to do sales or I'm going to do offer, coaching. All those things are still within the bucket of business coaching. It doesn't confuse people as much. So you need to be agile in that fashion when you're like in the micro, but don't go macro and start bouncing all over the place.
Absolutely. And I love the way that you mentioned that because, we're in the age of the slash where there are people who do multiple things. Like, for instance, I'm a author, coach, speaker, and podcast host. And as you mentioned, it can be uh, at least a challenge for entrepreneurs to ping pong, to confuse our audience where people are not exactly sure what we do. Do you think that it's best for entrepreneurs in this age of the slash where we're able and capable to do multiple things? And even if our organization does offer other benefits, features, and benefits, do you find that it's best for us to maybe zone in at the strongest of those services, goods or services that we offer?
Oh man, this is such a challenging question because it's like for a lot of entrepreneurs, especially when they're trying to get from 5 figures to 6 figures, it's like the challenge they always have. Like, do I have multiple streams of income? I'll put it this way: if you're just starting out or you're trying to break through and start getting multiple thousands of dollars, I test which one you feel is something that you want to do for the long run, right? Um, that's the number one. Number two, the question I always ask is like, are you okay jumping into whatever product or service that you're going to go for and promote it for the next year without complaining? Are you excited for it? If you can do that, great. That's the thing. And then the third one is kind of what you were saying, Teresa, is like, yeah, just go with the one that you know is your strongest strength or the one that's already producing some revenue. Double down on that, right? If because the market might already be telling you, hey, this is working, go for it. Many times, what I have found is the reason people bounce back and forth is that we get stuck in shiny object syndrome. And marketing in 2025 doesn't help today. Where they're like, do this, you should be offering this. No, you should be doing affiliate marketing. No, you should be doing product servicing. No, you should do fulfillment by Amazon. Like there's so many things out there that you kind of get whiplash and you're like, I don't know which one to do. So you try all of them. It's like, man, the biggest thing I tell people is just do the thing that you would actually enjoy doing and do it for the long run. Stop thinking in the terms of, and this is where a lot of marketing gurus and sales gurus out there in at least the high ticket coaching space do right now. And it's super frustrating to me. They used to give a lot of promises where it's like, hey, in 90 days, we're going to get you to 10K a month. In 30 days, we're going to get you to 10K. Like it's these crazy guarantees that actually don't help you. So you have this like microwave approach to business, but nothing great and worthwhile ever happened quickly, right? You need to build a foundation. You need to build something. So I'm like, let it take a year. If all of a sudden you just shift from, oh, it's going to take me 90 days to a year to truly build something, then all of a sudden you're thinking, okay, I can make this work. Uh, I unfortunately had witnessed a lot of people like seriously, I would see them leave their jobs and like they're like, I'm going to start this coaching business and I'm going to do it in the next 3 months. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you're about to have a very uphill battle because you don't have the assets set up for that. There's a few people who could pull that off, but not many. So I never
Yeah.
encourage people to just be like, hey, leave your job and start this entrepreneurial journey. Unless like you got let go and you're like, I don't got any options. I'm not finding a job. Let's go do something. Yeah, I get it, right? We're having a totally different conversation. In general, I would tell people, give it time. Time is the thing that's going to help you leverage your business and actually go further.
Absolutely. I love that. Give it time, entrepreneurs. If you didn't hear nothing else, give it time and faith and really stay to what you really enjoy and what you want to do for the long term. So I love that. So Ken, I want to say thank you so much for hopping down this bunny trail with me just to give us a little bit more insight and answering some of these impromptu questions for me and for our listening audience. So we're going to get into the business, solo scale, which I'm really
Let's do it.
excited to learn more about. So why don't you tell us about your organization, the services that you offer? And I know that you love working with solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, but also maybe drill down on your target market, your target niche. So tell us about what it is, what it's like to work with you with Solo Scale.
Yeah. So let me start with the problem that we saw, all right, and kind of how we solve it. When I was working at Full Focus or the CEO at a coaching company, one of the things that I realized is that a lot of coaches, they were really good at coaching. Like they were great and better than me, right? But the thing that they weren't good at was marketing and sales. They're not like most coaches don't want to be salespeople. They don't want to get on phone calls and talk to people, right? And they don't know how to market. And they're like, oh, should I read Story Brand? Should I read Russell Brunson? Should I read Alex Hormozy? They're just so inundated with stuff. And what I started to realize is they're overwhelmed by the constant barrage of different marketing tactics and sales tactics that don't fit their style and approach to coaching. So it's like, how do we find something and how do we build something that is about them using coaches' unique voices, their unique expertise, and their thought leadership, where they feel confident and comfortable with the marketing. And when they actually get on a call, it doesn't feel like it's this high ticket, like sales bro pressure that they have to close it. It's like, no, I could come into it and I could just enjoy the conversation. And if they close to a client, great. If not, you know what? You made a great impact on the individual. Like that's the freedom that I want a lot of the coaches to walk through. So that's when we started to say, well, how can we help? In today's age, how can we truly help people? Now I'm going to give a quick marketing lesson because this is going to be really important for people. There's certain ways to scale things, right? One of the ways is one to one, right? And this is a thing Alex Hormozy talks about, but it's one to one, right? Where you do again a lot of referrals, go to networking events, right? You're connecting with people. That's good, but it's not scalable. The second one is one to many, right? So this, and a big way that people promote this is like, hey, let's do ads. So you'll see Facebook ads, Google ads, Instagram ads, all those kind of things. But the problem we found is that most people don't have the money to invest in ads. And the second thing is that they don't have an offer that's clearly articulated for them to actually put ads to it. So people are just burning money. I saw this time and time again where people are just burning tons of money on ads and it's not working. They're not getting leads. And if they are getting leads, they're low quality leads for people. So when they get on phone calls, it's like you feel that pressure that you're needing to sell, right? And it's like, well, how do you flip the script? And one of the things that I found about selling is that you need trust. The more trust you have on a sales call, the easier it is to close it. Now, I didn't say it's easy to close, it's just easier, right? So then I started to reverse engineer it and I asked, well, how do you build trust with people? What do you truly need to do to build trust? Well, I said, the way that we love to build trust, and this is just our company, the way we decided to do it is we want to help people create a video podcast. And the reason why we do video podcasts is that one, people love listening to podcasts, right? It's huge. And a lot of people always think, oh my gosh, podcast, it's such a saturated market. It's actually not, right? Like there might be hundreds of thousands of podcasts, but there's only like 1% of those that are actually active and have more than 21 episodes out there. So the people who stay in it and actually start getting traction are the ones who just said, I'm in it for the long run. And the reason why, like, I'm like, okay, well, if you have a podcast and you're in it for the long run and you start to grow it, the reason we say video podcast is because now in today's day and age, video is the new currency. Being able to grab attention of individuals is the number one thing that you need to be able to do. What most people don't do right now is that they're just like, hey, I'm just going to post on LinkedIn and that's it. It's like, that's good, but like you need another long form content. So what we always talk about in marketing is that you need one long form piece of content and one short form piece of content. And video podcasting is so versatile in that way. Because if you wanted to, you could take those videos, create it in short form videos, or you could take the transcript, create a blog, create a newsletter. You could take that content and then make it into a social media post. So that's why we decided that. Once we help people create the video podcast, so our company, what we do is we help people create their angle for the podcast to make sure that it's popular enough that people are going to want to listen to it and engaging enough. And we help them record the first 3 or the next 3 episodes if they're shifting. But then the next thing is now you actually want something in the back end where it's a lead generator. Because then what happens to a podcast is that most podcasts, it's great, but then it's like, how do you actually get an audience? How do you grow clients? How do you actually do it? Is that you need something, what people call in marketing a lead generator, where people feel like, man, I really want to work with this person. I want to engage them in the next step. And that next step doesn't have to be something crazy. I like to use the example of like being in a relationship with someone, right? If you were to meet someone face to face, when you meet them, the first thing you're not going to do is ask them to marry you, right? And it's like, will you marry me? It's like, that's kind of weird, right? Like, it's kind of crazy. But so many times in marketing and in sales, that's what we end up doing. So it's like, well, what would you do on a first date? What would you do on a second date? What would you do on a third date, right? Like you want to think that way in your marketing funnels and like your lead generator. So when the podcast is kind of like the first, second, third date, and then it's like, oh, how do we get them on a fourth date where we might be a little bit more serious? And you start asking them like, oh, take this assessment, take this quiz, right? They're going to trust you with it. And then from there, it's like, oh, after that, hey, would you be interested in jumping on a call with us? Or would you be interested in XYZ, a small product, a $10 product? They remember like, yeah, I've listened to a few hours of this person. I've taken their quiz. I could pay $10 for this product, right? And you start what's called the ascension ladder. So you start bringing them into upsells little by little until they're committed and want to get a higher product from you. And that's in essence what we do and what we try to help people think through is like, how do you just build trust in the front end so that it makes it really easy? And what we found is trust is built when people are listening to you. I'll give you one short story and then I'll pause here. When I was working at Full Focus, I was on their podcast. I was co-hosting the podcast. We got about 20,000 downloads a month on the podcast. And then they launched a coaching program. And it's a phenomenal coaching program that they have. Well, one of the things that I would do is I would take some of the sales calls because of my sales background. I was like, yeah, let me jump on. Let me kind of craft the offer. Let me craft the script and stuff like that. Well, when I would get on calls with people, they're like, oh my gosh, Ken, is that really you? And I'm like, yeah, why? They're like, I've just been listening to you for months on the podcast. I'm like, I never thought I'd be talking to you. I have so many questions for you. And they're like, they just get so excited. I'm like, I didn't realize I had fans out there. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And I'm like so down to earth and chill. I'm like, well, let's chat. So we were just talking and I'd be answering the questions. And then I would be like, hey, so let's talk about this offer that we have. And they'd be like, yeah, let's do it. And it would just be so much easier to close. And they're like, well, Ken, if you think it's going to help me, I trust you because they've been listening to me for months. And they close. I don't have to do much like hardcore closing. I don't have to do all these crazy sales tactics. It was just easy or easier, right? And again, I've been in sales for 15 years, so I do know certain things that are helpful in conversations. But man, I just tell people there's this level of authority and credibility you have when people have been listening to you for a while versus just on a one-off call.
Awesome, awesome. And I love that. So, well, just for example, in my space here, I love to be able to spotlight fellow entrepreneurs, leaders, as well as authors on this particular platform because as I'm still endeavoring to kind of come out of that space of unknown into known, I want to bring as many with me as I possibly can. And I think that's really cool. I would just say that in this particular space, and especially for new podcasters, because I'm still fairly young at this, only got,
Yeah.
got a good amount of episodes under my belt. But do you find that for podcasters that I guess for maybe just staying within the example, like for me, do you find that it's beneficial for people to still be able to build trust with me by listening to some of my interviews? Um, or as well as having a mix of maybe solo podcasts as well. So where it's just my voice, or just maybe the combination of the two. What are your
Yeah,
thoughts?
I would say that at some point you want to have more solo episodes than interview episodes,
Okay.
right? So because what ends up happening with the interview, like we'll just take this interview, right? I've been doing most of the talking and you've been doing a fantastic job of asking questions, kind of doing a great job at hosting, but no one gets to hear your expertise, right? Or like your insight to something. So again, interview is great. We do interview podcasts. Like I have a whole list, a docket of interviews that we're doing right now. Um, but we're strategic about those because those are like partnerships that we're doing. So when I do interviews, it's more of a strategic partnership or collaboration that I'm working through. Uh, for people, for if you want to grow your podcast, they got to hear your voice. So I would say get into doing more solo podcasts. So people could be like, oh yeah, I love Teresa. I'm coming back for Teresa, right? And if you think about even the podcast interviews that you listen to, you come back because you're a good host. They're like, oh, this person knows how to ask good questions. They're drawing out the right information from the interviewer. That's a great skill to have, but it makes it harder for them to, in their mind, envision, oh, I'm going to go to Teresa for marketing and sales. So, like, for example, if you and I both were in the marketing sales space right now, if someone's listening to this, they're naturally going to be drawn to me because I was like, oh, Ken knows a lot about marketing and sales. I don't know if Teresa does. If you did, then all of a sudden it's like, that's that missed opportunity. So that's all like, and it's okay. Sometimes people just know like, oh, they're just bringing different voices in, and that's fine too. But at some point, I would say do a mix and add more of your voice into it.
Awesome, awesome. And that's something I'm trying to do. I really am working working on that. Starting to do that. And I do it, but not as often. So that is going
Yeah,
to be on the top of my list. I really need to work on that. So thank you for giving me more insight on that, as well as others who might be doing more interview style
yeah,
podcasts and be able to step out and doing more solo in order to continue to build that trust, as you made mention of. Well, Ken, I'm so enjoying our conversation. We're going to start downshifting, but I did wanted to maybe ask you. I know that you've been great as far as with scaling and all of that, and you're now in your own space with your organization. Can you share with us just really quickly? Entrepreneurship is now not always so sexy. It's not
yeah.
always cute. It's not always buttoned up. Can you take us behind the scenes as you're continuing to build your organization? Maybe share with us either the most funny or maybe one of the most intense behind the scenes adventures that you have experienced as you're continuing to build your organization.
Yeah, I think for me the I'll say the fun thing first, and then I'll say kind of like the more intense thing. But the fun thing is really a lot of people in entrepreneurship, if you do it right, you have truly the freedom and the autonomy to do the things that you want to do. So at the time of this recording, I have 4 kids, and my wife is pregnant with baby number 5. And
Oh,
it's like,
congratulations.
thanks. And that the reason I bring that up is because we just have like so much opportunity to, or I have so much opportunity to just step away and just be present for my kids. Like when I was growing up, my dad, he was working 2 or 3 jobs. I never saw him, and it's not because he didn't want to spend time with us. He was such a hard worker. He was such a good dad when he was there, but he was just trying to put food on the table. So I've been blessed in that I'm on the shoulders of his legacy. He's provided an on-ramp as a first generation immigrant that I'm like, okay, how can I now pull this off in such a way that like I can be present with my kids? So that's the first fun thing that I enjoy. I have flexibility. I'm able to do that versus like working a 9 to 5. It's so hard, right? It's like if like, oh man, I gotta take my kids to a doctor's appointment. Or I gotta do this. My business partner and I were always texting each other. He's like, hey, I'm gonna go do this. I'm gonna go do that. I'm like, cool, me too. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go on vacation next week. Sounds great. Like we just have that ability. The intense part about it is and a lot of people are gonna feel this when I say it. It's the roller coaster of the mindset issues and struggles that we all face where one day we're really excited about solopreneurship, and then the next day you're like, oh my gosh, where's the next deal going to come from? And then you're like, the next day you're like, I'm awesome, this is amazing. And then you're back down, you're like, oh, I got 10 different client problems. So like, there's that stuff that I have found that if you can deal with your mindset and work through those things, it becomes way more enjoyable. And that's one of the things that I loved working with people about at Full Focus, and what I do now with our coaching clients is just like helping that mindset shift of like, no, no, you got this. Like you're capable. Let's think differently about how you should run your business. And when they start thinking differently about it, it opens up so much space. I'll give one example of one way I like to people to think about it. I'm like, if you people always have this idea or goal that I only want to work 20 hours a week, right? But they never get there. Why? Because they're working 50, 60 hours a week and they don't put constraints on their time. So they're allowing themselves to work 60 hours a week. So they do a bunch of stuff. But I'm like, you know what? If you flip it and you actually said, I only have 20 hours a week to get this stuff done. What do I need to do to actually generate revenue and get fulfillment for my clients? That's a totally different conversation. So forcing yourself to say, I'm only working this much on my business, and you do that, all of a sudden you just start to think differently and you start to grow differently. And it's just little things like that that I try to help clients with constantly of like, no, no, you're thinking like a traditional employee who has 50, 60 hours a week. I need you to think like a business owner. If you only had 20 hours, what would you do?
Absolutely love that. I absolutely love that as far as having that type of mindset, because I think, in all honesty and transparency, I think because I am my own boss, so to speak. I feel like, I just have all of this time, so I don't necessarily cut myself off or to say that I'm only going to do this in this certain amount of time. So I will find myself maybe working on something days and hours from early morning way into the night, into the night.
Yeah.
But I love that being able to force ourselves to think differently. That if you only have this certain amount of time, what do you? It then helps you to reprioritize. So thank you for giving us some insight there. Now, Ken, now, as you know, this is the Women's Leadership Mindset Series podcast. And I failed to mention at the very beginning that you're my fourth gentleman on this space. And I am
Yeah,
so
yeah.
excited about that. Yes, yes. You're number four. And I'm really excited about, opening my world to bringing men into this leadership space, leadership conversation, because it takes both of us, men and women, to be able to make this leadership world move forward. One of the things is that I believe that every leader, whether you're a man or a woman, that we do have a controlling influence, whether it's over a particular domain, a cause, people, territory, or even an industry. So, can you tell us, in your own words, what kind of leader would you say that you are? And in what ways, well, basically, yeah, let's just start there. How would you describe yourself as a leader as far as your leadership style?
Yeah, I would probably say I'm a collaborative servant leader. I want to serve people and I want to equip them in such a way that they are being empowered to flourish within their strengths. That's kind of how I've always been designed. I'm like, how can I help build people up, let them do the job, and I can step away from things. And I specifically for women, if I could just speak to obviously because it's the women's leadership, um, women, you have a very unique ability. And that's that you have, for many of you, an empathetic leadership about you that I do not want to dismiss. I actually want you to live into it. And I want you to walk in such a strength that like you do bring to the table. And that might be like in your household, right? With your kids. That might be in your churches. It might be in your companies and the organizations, wherever it is. Don't be afraid to truly walk out within your strengths and your giftings. Now, all of us, there's always a double-edged sword to our strengths, right? So don't be mindful of the double-edged part of it. But I find that most women, in my view, and Teresa, you could correct me if I'm wrong, most women are actually insecure and are afraid to walk in their strengths because they feel like, oh, if I walk in my strengths, I might hurt someone else. I might do some damage, or I might hurt some men's feelings, right? And I'm like, no, I actually believe that your gifts are supposed to complement men. So if you walk in your God-given gifts well, the men will actually like, wow, look at this woman. Look how amazing she is. Look how good she is. Right. But that's why I said like it's a double-edged sword. Just be mindful of it. Um, like I'll talk about myself for a quick second. Like one of my skill sets or my natural talent is like I can be really assertive. I'm a go-getter. Right. So for a lot, and I was born and raised in New York City. So I was like always hardcore, like, let's just do this. Let's climb the mountain. Like, and I thought me being rough and tough was like, oh, that's just the way you got to do it. But no, that I could be assertive, but I don't have to be a jerk about it. So
Yeah.
like over the last 10 years, I've learned to not be a jerk. And most people would be like, I've never seen you that way. Why? Because I've learned early on, don't be a jerk, right? But use your God-given gift of being assertive. And the same thing with ladies, like there are so many multitude or myriad of gifts that you have. Learn to walk in those and be mindful of the weaknesses of it.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you sharing that with us because I think in a lot of ways that women may are timid about walking in the fullness of their giftings and their abilities is oftentimes we're not given the room. Or if we do take that chance to stretch out, then you might be labeled as being masculine. That seems to be the new term, the masculine energy or whatever, when we are just operating in the fullness of what we're great at. And so I just greatly appreciate you sharing, or not necessarily giving us permission, but really encouraging the women in our listening audience to really walk out in the fullness of their strengths and their powers and their giftings. And Ken, one of the things anybody that knows me, they know that love is the foundation of my organization, that I empower love, employ love as that ultimate success factor to help renew women's leadership mindset with fresh fire and purpose. And I really truly have a deep belief that the effective power of love really is that game changer, and that gives us a competitive edge beyond just an emotion. And I believe that it gives us that competitive edge to be innovative in business, powerful in leadership, as well as being fully present for our organization, our teams, our stakeholders, as well as being knowledgeable about industry trends, and really just being benevolent in any of our community service efforts as an organization. So understanding that that's how I feel about love, that love is can be applicable to our business models. How would you say that love has tangibly shaped you as that collaborative and servant leader that you are?
Yeah. So I I'm gonna get a little spiritual here. So forgive me, if that's something
Oh,
like not
you're
okay,
good.
you can
You're
cut
in a
it. But
good space.
I'm a strong believer, a strong Christian, and 1 John 4:19 says we love because He first loved us. So my ability to truly love the way that I'm called to love people and genuinely with a deep compassion, empathy, and also bring grace and truth. The only way I can do that is if I have gotten the source from God the Father Himself, the creator of the universe, that see, He loves me unconditionally. Oh, because I am loved unconditionally, now I can just pour out my life to others really well. And that to me is like the way I do it. Other people might have a different way to do it, but for me, I had like if people meet me, I'm like, man, I just want to love you as best as possible. I want to serve you as best as possible. The only way I know how to do that is because my example and my witness is Jesus Christ and the scriptures in the Bible and what He's done for people. And I'm like, all right, I'm just going to emulate Him. and he gives me the power and the ability to do so when I put my faith and trust in him. So that's what I try to do day in and day out. Am I perfect? Not at all. But that's where he's always graciously, kindly reminding me, this is the way you can live because this is what I've done for you first.
Absolutely. And I totally, absolutely love that. That God is love. That is the foundation of my work. So it's good to have a fellow believer in this space as well. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for your transparency there. So Ken, we're starting to wrap up here. How do you want future generations to benefit from the work that you're doing today?
Ooh, that's a great question. You know, I think the biggest thing for me is I, I'll say it this way. Our current culture is so inundated by the hustle culture. It's like work, 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 work your tail off, keep doing all these things. And what ends up happening is people are getting burnt out. They're getting exhausted. I love working with men, and I love working with how they can be present with their families, right? Like that's what I want. I want a society where like both the men and the women in the household are present for their kids. They're able to develop and train their kids, and those kids could grow up and not feel this hustle and pressure of like I have to do everything and all the time and not know how to rest.
Yeah,
Uh, it's a massive pandemic that we don't talk about as much. We just assume this is the way culture is. This is the way we need to succeed because we have a faulty view of success. So in my eyes, I think what I'm hoping my legacy will leave is that we have left faithful parents who can be present, that they were faithful with their kids, they were faithful with church, were faithful with the society that they've been put in, so that at the end of the day, people can truly see, man, God says, well done, my good and faithful servant. You have helped those around you. You have taken care of them. You have poured out your life to them. And you showed them what Christianity truly looks like and were able to tell them about Christianity and the gospel. That's the legacy. That's why I do what I do. I was like, I just want people to have a life of impact, a life of freedom, and at the same time, a life of profits. Like it's okay to make money and support your family. Like that's all those three things are okay. I don't want them to be your God, right? But it's okay to leverage them and use them for his kingdom.
absolutely, absolutely. So Ken, as far as closing tips and encouragement and resources, I know that you have a complimentary gift for our audience. We're going to share that in just a minute. But for what tip, what encouragement or resource would you give to someone that is, they are looking to step into a dream career or even start a dream business, to make that into a reality, but they haven't necessarily taken that leap of faith, so to speak, to step into that space, to walk in the fullness of all of their abilities and capabilities, and especially if being an entrepreneur is something that's within their purview and part of their calling. What tip, what encouragement or resource would you give to them to go ahead and start working to take that leap or start working towards that goal?
Yeah, great question. So I'll say two things. Number one, and I actually just posted this on social media the other day, but a great mentor of mine said this, like 50% today is better than 100% tomorrow. And for those who are trying to start, I'll say just start. It's not going to be perfect. It never will. It's just like any new skill that you learn. You're never going to be an expert at it, right? Like if you were wanting to learn the piano, you're not going to be an expert tomorrow. You got to take lessons, right? Same thing with business. It's like just take a step, start doing stuff, right? See what you like, see what you don't like. Try selling something, right? Right now, I got my little kids. My oldest is 8, my second is 6. We're doing garage sales, right? Because I'm just like learn how to like just talk to someone and try to sell something for them, right? Try to negotiate the price, and it's funny watching them. They're like, "This is awkward and it's hard." I'm like, "Yes, but trust me, it's a skill you're gonna want to know in life, right? Just try." Do something today. It doesn't have to be perfect. And this is coming from a recovering perfectionist, right? I am a recovering perfectionist. I get it. Just try something small. The second thing I would say is, man, if you're in that place, and this is the free gift that Teresa was talking about. I'm opening up a certain amount of slots. I'm not doing this for everybody and not doing this forever, but opening up a certain amount of slots where you can just have a consult with me. We'll just talk about it, what your offer looks like, how can we best help you, what everything looks like. I'm telling you right now from the get-go, this is not a high-pressured sales call. Genuinely, it's just me consulting and me looking at your business and saying what you can and cannot do. If you want to go do it on your own, great. If you want to talk about how we can help you, great. But I'm just genuinely here to serve you. And if that's what you need right now, great. Come reach out. Teresa will put it in the show notes and the links and stuff like that, where you could just book a call with me. You could go to Solo Scaled and book a call there, and let's just talk and find out, like, how can we get you to a place where you can really start growing and scaling your business?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think you just answered my follow-up question, because I wanted you to share that tip, that resource, or encouragement for someone who may already be in the work. They already living the dream, but they might be feeling stuck or frustrated. So this that walks right into that one-on-one consult
Yeah.
for the CEOs out there who needs that support as far as in lead generation as well as sales audits for their business. And so we are going to make sure that we have that information in the bio for our listening audience. Well, Ken, I have to tell you, has been such an honor to have you and to be the fourth gentleman on this space. I'm just really excited. And thank you so much for giving us some insight and guidance, and also some personal guidance for me as well,
Yeah,
to do
absolutely.
more solo podcasts as well. So, what are your final words to take us home that will inspire and motivate us for the remainder of the third quarter throughout the remainder of 2025?
Yeah. The summer is an opportunity to rest, and people are like vacationing and stuff like that. I would say after listening to this podcast, the biggest thing I want you to just step away with, or not even take away with, because we haven't talked about it, but one key step that I would want you to do is remember your why. What is it that you believe you're called to do here, and why? And for some of you who are thinking about starting a business, or you are in a business and is struggling, remember your why. Why did you start that business? And as you're motivating yourself again with your why, start asking the second question of just like, how can I start doing things a little bit differently, or in a way that aligns with my style, so I can enjoy what I'm trying to do? Because I guarantee you, most of you are just doing stuff that you're like, I'm doing this because this is the way I've been told I have to do it. It's not the way that you've been designed to do it. And if you can find your unique voice and get it out there, that's when you're going to start to see more of your business grow and shine, and you're going to enjoy it. So that's what I'm going to leave you with. Remember your why, and like just keep pressing forward of like walking in your personal unique voice.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, audience. So you heard that. Remember your why. And as you are motivating yourself with your why, be sure that you do things differently that aligns with your personal enjoyment. Well, Ken, it was such an honor to have you on today. Thank you so much. Well, leaders, we want to say thank you for joining us. Remember, you can connect with Ken as well as his complimentary gift. You may connect with him on his website at soloscale.com. You may also connect with him via email at ken@soloscale.com. And be sure to connect with him on social media. On LinkedIn, you may connect with him at Ken Freire. And also, be sure to tune in to his podcast, Solo Scale, that could be found on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and any other places podcasts are found. This new podcast is for solopreneurs looking to grow a 7-figure business without building a big team, utilizing AI, smart systems, and lean strategy. In addition to connecting to his podcast, for our CEOs and our listening audience, be sure to take full advantage of this one-on-one consult with Ken, and anyone who is looking to have any lead generation or sales audits for their organization. So to book a meeting with Ken, you may visit his website at soloscaled.com. We'll be sure to put this information in the bio. Now, leaders, do you have an important story to tell that would inspire others to step into their dream career or business? If so, check the bio to learn how to become one of my special guests. And also, I would like to invite each of you to check out my new book, My Journey to Wholeness, Love the Success Factor. Now available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, this book and its companion reference guide workbook is a tangible demonstration of how God's love, develops women to lead, create, and generate wealth in the fullness of our equality, purpose, and business. So you can check the bio to learn more. So we want to say thank you for joining in for another episode of the Women's Leadership Mindset series. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, here's to the journey. And let's move forward.